Hey y'all, my name's Jason Robertson. I'm the owner of Outdoor Legacy Gear, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Sightmark Photon RT Digital Night Vision Riflescope. Now this is going to be a full review, so it's going to be rather long. And if you're not interested in that, we'll also try to have a short review that you can check out for just the bullet points and the highlights of this scope. Again, we'll break this up into several parts, but it is going to be rather lengthy because there is so much to go over with this scope, and I want the viewer to have all the information available to hopefully answer their questions before they consider making a purchase on this scope. So let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to do is I want to highlight some of the changes from the previous versions of the Photon and some of the improvements that we're going to see with this RT. This is a Sightmark Photon XT. This is the previous version that was discontinued recently. So now it is replaced with this Sightmark Photon RT. You'll see they look very similar. There's a few small changes on the exterior, but overall the look and feel is the same. Jumping right in, we still have the rigid lens cap right here that hinges. We still have the focus adjustment on the front. We have the same focus adjustment on the eyepiece as well. The tube is the same here. However, one thing that has changed is the tube is just slightly shorter. It's not a big deal. It really doesn't matter on AR-15 style rifles, but on bolt guns, you're definitely going to need a Picatinny rail on the top so that you can get this scope far enough back for the proper eye relief. One thing that hasn't changed is you still need the same rings. I suggest the Sightmark Quick Detach rings. This is an SM34002. They're sold individually. So if you want to get a pair, you need to actually buy two of these. And again, it's the SM34002. It's a quick detach ring. They work very well. If you don't want a quick detach ring, Sightmark also makes a SM34007, and this is it's a pair, and they are just a standard ring, non-quick detach. They're a little bit cheaper, so if you don't need quick detach, I would highly recommend getting those. They're a very sturdy ring, very popular. You might pick a set of those up. If you want to buy your own rings, you can do that. The thing you have to know is that it's a 30mm tube, but you need a very specific height. You need approximately 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of the ring saddle to the top of the Picatinny rail. And that is a specific height. Most rings are not that tall. And so I'll have people call and they say, well, if I buy extra high rings, is that tall enough? It just depends, because high, medium high, extra high, that means nothing, and it changes manufacturer to manufacturer. Actually, speaking of that, it can actually change within manufacturers. This Sightmark calls a medium height quick detach ring. These they call a high height tactical ring. They're the exact same height. So it's a poor naming system, but you get what I'm saying. High, medium high means nothing. So again, I would just highly suggest staying with the Sightmark rings. They're made for these scopes. They work very well. But if you do want to pick up your own, you can definitely do that. Moving on, we still do have this rubber eye cup here. Some people ask about this. They want to know if it's removable. It absolutely is. You can pull that right off and you can put it right back on if that's something that you don't like. If you have eyeglasses or something and it bothers you to put your eye there. So it's just like the old XT models. You can pull that off, put it back on. Moving forward, you'll see right here, now there is a battery compartment on the side, and instead of being on the top and holding 2 AA's like the XTs, this holds 4 AA's. And so we'll talk about battery life a little more later, but 4 AA's on the side. On this side right here, I know that you can't see it well on the video, but right here, this pulls open, and this is an external power port. You can plug in a USB battery pack to this. There is a cable that is supplied by Sightmark, so you have that cable. Also, you might notice on this side right here, you also have the same weaver rail that was in another location on the XT models. That's just for accessories that you might plug in there. You will see right here the infrared illuminator has moved. It's on the right side now. One thing you'll notice is that it is adjustable. You can focus the illuminator, which is a really nice improvement. Also on top, we now have the power button, and we have this button here, which actually controls different menus, and we'll get into a little bit more of that later. So let's talk about, again, some of the improvements. The big things across the board that you're going to be hearing about with the RTs over the old XTs is now it has internal video recording. So if you want to record your hunt with audio and video, you just press a single button. Immediately it starts recording. It saves it internally. There's no SD cards, memory cards, anything like that. Saves it right there. You can also take still images by pressing a button. Again, those are saved internally as well. That same power port, the external power port that I mentioned, you can plug in the USB cable there, connect it to your computer, and pull those videos and pictures off. So that is something that a lot of people are excited about, is to have that high quality video recording included right there in the scope. No need for extra DVRs or anything like that. Also, now this unit has the ability to connect to your phone or tablet, and as long as you're within a very close distance here, they connect together, and there's a free app in the App Store you can download and connect the scope to the phone or to the tablet, and you can control everything, start recording, end recordings, change any other settings. You can also stream live video to your smartphone or tablet from the scope itself. So whatever you see on the scope, you can see on the tablet. Now, I want to say real quick, there's two things that a lot of people get concerned about. They say, I don't want video recording, I don't want streaming, I don't want all these gizmos. It's just something that's going to get in my way. I'm not interested in that. The good thing is, the way Sightmark has done this, it's very simple. If you don't want those features, you don't have to use them. It didn't create endless menus and options, so they're very easy to ignore if those are features you aren't interested in. So don't let it scare you away from this scope. It's still overall very simple to use, just like the older models were as well. Also, another improvement on this scope is the infrared illuminator. We will, in another section, talk in depth about the new infrared illuminators, but generally speaking, the distance that you can see is much further. On the S models, you can see up to 250 yards at night, black night, no moon, and that is a huge improvement over the S models in the XT series, which would only allow you to see around 125 to 150, 60 yards, depending on the model. Huge improvement. But again, stay tuned. You need to hear in the next section about these infrared illuminators, because there's been some big changes and there's a lot of confusion. We'll get to that later. I mentioned the 4 AA batteries. As you can see now, there's probably 4 AA batteries in there because we have a brighter illuminator. We do have the other features of the video recording and what have you that you might use and drain the batteries quicker. So I think that's why Sightmark chose to include 4 batteries now. Everybody wants to know, what is the battery life? I've been using this scope for over a month now. I think the battery life is good, but I do feel that these extra features, when used, especially the infrared illuminator, do drain the battery some. But here's what I found in a controlled test. I don't like to go out and try to use it and tell you how long it lasts, because it's off, it's on, I'm never timing it. I don't know how long it's been on. It's just really hard for me to, without making something up, determine how long I really used the scope in the field. So the second best thing is a controlled test, and that's what I did. I took the Sightmark Photon RT 4.5 by 42S and the 6.5 by 50, and I set them side by side. I put brand new Duracell alkaline disposable batteries in them. I turned the illuminator brightness to 10, which that's as high as it goes. I adjusted the screen brightness to 50%, which is really where I like it. So that seemed to be a reasonable amount. And again, the illuminator is bright as it would possibly go. I did this indoors, so the temperature was around 68 to 70 degrees. I sat them down and I watched them. Both scopes went for around 2 hours and 10 minutes. They quit within 1 to 2 minutes of each other, which I thought was pretty amazing, but 2 hours and 10 minutes. Now, in the field, actual real world use, I don't think you're probably going to get 2 hours and 10 minutes if you have the illuminator on high. The reason is powering the unit off and on, that boot up and shut down does use battery life. So I think it's going to be shorter than that. It would also be shorter than that if you were out in the cold. However, if you don't use the illuminator or you don't have it on 10, I think you could reasonably get 2 hours or more because the illuminator does suck a lot of juice. But again, for AA batteries, they're not expensive. They're very affordable and everybody's got them laying around. But we do now have, as I mentioned, the external power port. You can plug in any USB battery adapter or a charger, and I'm actually looking into some stuff right now that we may be offering very soon for that. Also, there is going to be a battery pack that is rechargeable that slides right in here, and I've got those on the way to test soon. We'll hopefully have some more info about those, but there is a rechargeable battery pack that will slide right in there and would eliminate the need for the AA batteries. Okay, I think that is most of the high points of the Sightmark Photon RT, and in the next section we're going to get into the different models and the differences in the infrared illuminators. So stay tuned for that. So now what we're going to talk about is the different models of the RT series as well as the difference in the infrared illuminators. This is going to be a little bit long. It could get a little bit confusing, so stick with me and listen close because this is really important and you're going to need to understand this before you make a decision on which model to buy. So there are 4 models now. There is the Photon RT 4.5 by 42S. There's the 4.5 by 42. There is a 6.5 by 50S and a 6.5 by 50. The models that have the S behind it, that indicates they have an 850 nanometer infrared illuminator. The models that don't have a letter behind it, that indicates they have a 940 nanometer infrared illuminator. Now, what this means to you, we'll get into the practicality of that in a second, but I want to get into the details of the difference in the 850 and the 940. The 850 illuminator is, number one, we need to understand that that is the measurement of the wavelength on the infrared spectrum. This has nothing to do with measuring the brightness of the illuminator. So theoretically speaking, an 810, an 820, and 850, that doesn't mean they're getting brighter as they go up. Again, the nanometers measures the infrared wavelengths. So stick with me. The 800 spectrum of infrared light is one of the best spectrums to be used for digital night vision rifle scopes. And almost all the major manufacturers on all the common digital night vision rifle scopes have always used infrared illuminators in that 800 spectrum. Again, be it 810, 820, 850, whatever's common, that is what is in almost all digital night vision rifle scopes in the past and in the present. And again, they've told you the reason why is because it provides some of the best infrared light for these scopes. So we've got that. The 940, that's in the 900 spectrum, it does not provide as much usable infrared light for these scopes. Thus, you cannot see as far. All right, so now I'm going to explain the reason why some people would want the 940 versus the 850. When you look into the head of one of these 850 infrared illuminators. It doesn't matter if it's on the Photon, if it's on an external illuminator, if it's on another brand of optic. When you look into the head of it with that illuminator on, what you can see is a soft red glow. And that glow is the LED actually lit up inside of there. And so again, you have to look head on, but you can see it. And it doesn't put a beam out that you can see, nothing like that, but it's just glowing softly red. And the negative to that is some people have had issues where a coyote or a hog or another predator has seen that little soft red glow, look towards their scope, can't see them, but sees that red glow and runs off. And so that is a concern for some people. I'm gonna go on the record and say I've used these scopes for over 5 years and I've never had a single instance of that happening. Never one time have I had an animal that I believe saw that and ran away. They might have winded me, they might have seen me, they might have heard me, but never once did I turn on the illuminator and have anything that spooked because of it. What I'm not saying is that it couldn't happen to you, or it might not. You may have a credible story of it happening. I do believe it is possible that there are some coyotes or hogs that are more wary. Maybe they've been educated because they've been hunted hard, a lot of different reasons. But again, it's not something that's happened to me. And I've sold hundreds and hundreds of these photons over the years, as well as a lot of other digital night vision rifle scopes. And I have had very, very few credible reports of people telling me that they turned on their illuminator and the animals ran off. Again, I'm not saying that anyone who's ever told me that's a liar, because I do believe some of these people. It definitely seems to happen sometimes, but it's extremely rare. It's not common. So that's the 850. Don't let it scare you. Now let's go to the 940. The 940 is marketed as an invisible infrared illuminator. And the claim is that when it is on and you look right inside here in this head, you don't see the soft red glow. And I'm here to tell you that that is not always true. It's generally false, and it is especially false on these new Sightmark Photon RTs with the 940. When you look into the head of that, you absolutely 100% can see that soft red glow. You cannot see it as far as you can see it on the 850s, but you can see it. I've done some quick testing on them the other night, and it was a long story. It was cold, and the batteries went dead on one of them, and it was just like a comedy of errors. But I did do some testing, and what I found is this. I can see this soft red glow. If I know where to look, and I am really looking for it, I can see it out there at around 100 yards on this 850. I might even be able to see it a little bit further. I'm not sure. It's getting really faint at that point. And again, you've got to know, in my opinion, almost where it is to look at it. I don't think I would notice it if I was just walking around. On the 940s that is supposedly invisible, I am still capable of seeing that at over 50 yards. I can see the same faint, soft red glow. Guys, in my opinion, and take this for what it's worth, this is a non-issue. I would not worry myself over this. I have killed tons of hogs with these photons and other digital night vision rifle scopes with 850 nanometer IR illuminators, external illuminators like the UNV20 IR that have a big head and are burning at 850. You can see that red glow even better on those lights. And again, it just does not seem to be an issue. So here's the reason that it really matters to you when you're making the choice of which to buy. The S models, the 4.5 by 42S and the 6.5 by 50S, those both with the 850 illuminator can see about 250 yards in the black dark, no moon, right out of the box. That's a huge improvement over the XTs, and it is wonderful. I am loving it. They really, generally speaking, don't need external illumination unless you want to see really well out there past 250. So I'm very, very happy with that. If you decide to go with one of the 940 models, what you're going to give up is you're going to give up that range, that yardage that you can see. Both the 4.5 by 42 and the 6.5 by 50 with the 940s will only see about 150 yards. Now, if that's as far as you ever want to see, then I think that's fine. Choose that option, and you don't have to worry about something out there at 150 yards seeing your soft red glow out of the illuminator. But if you do want to see further, then I would definitely suggest staying with the S models. If you know that you have a problem, if you've hunted in the past with 850 or 810, 820 illuminators and you've had animals spook from it, definitely consider the 940. But if you don't know anything, if you've never had any history of something running off, I would say stick to the 850. It's all we've really ever had, and it's been just fine with very, very few complaints or problems. So now's not the time to let it concern you. That's my 2 cents. You can take it for what it's worth. One more thing, if you do buy the 940s, they cost $50 more per unit currently than the S models. So what you'll be doing is paying $50 more and seeing 100 yards less. And if that trade-off is worth it for you, then definitely go ahead. But I'm highly recommending my customers stick to the S models. Again, I know there was a lot of information thrown out there in a hurry. I hope that explains it well. And anyway, maybe that'll help you make your decision when it comes time to make the purchase. Hey y'all, thanks for sticking with me. The wind's blowing some of my stuff around, so hopefully you can't hear the wind too much on the microphone. We're gonna try to get this done quickly. So we're getting real close to the end. Thanks for sticking with me. I wanna talk to you quickly about which model to choose. That's the question I get all the time when customers call. I don't know which one to buy. Well, I've already explained the difference in the illuminators, so hopefully you've made your decision now whether you need the 940 or the 850. Generally speaking, I'm going to say buy the 850. If you want to know whether to buy the 4.5 or the 6.5, it's really going to come down how far the animals are that you're going to be shooting. And I know people say, well, I don't know, I may have them at 20 yards, I may have them at 200. Well, if you believe you're going to have very many shots under 100 yards, I definitely say to buy the 4.5 power. I used to say 70 or 80 yards, but I just be honest, I really think anywhere under 100, 6.5 power is a lot of magnification at night. It gives you a very limited field of view at those close distances, and if you do have an animal run out at 30 or 40 yards, all you're going to see is hair with 6.5 power at that close distance. So the 4.5 would be much better for that. On the other hand, a lot of my guys that hunt coyotes and they're in farm country in the Midwest, they're hunting big fields, it's very common for them to buy the 6.5 model because they may get coyotes that they call in and they get hung up out there at 150 or 200 yards, and they may have to take those longer shots, whereas a lot of us hog hunters down here in the South, we're able a lot of times to walk up and get closer to those hogs. And so again, we can normally close the distance and get a good shot with the 4.5 power. The other negative with the 6.5 on those close shots is that you're just not able often to get those second and third shots. Let's say there's a group of hogs or there's more than one coyote and one runs and stops. You just don't have the field of view when they're close to you to be able to see the other ones. Again, once you get over 100 yards, I don't think it's an issue. The 6.5 is a great option. But for close range stuff, generally I just say go ahead and choose the 4.5. It's not a decision to stress over. There's very few people who buy the 4.5 model and then regret it and wish they bought the 6.5. I think you're going to know if you're going to be shooting stuff, 100 to 150, 75 yards commonly. And that's a long ways to shoot at night. I'll just be quite honest with you. I try to keep all of my shots under 100 yards on hogs, but I understand not everybody has the luxury of being able to, walk up on hogs that easily. So anyway, I hope that just helps you make your decision a little bit better. So under 100 yards, a lot of shots there, definitely choose the 4.5. A lot of shots over 100, I would, probably tend to lean to the 6.5 model. Hope that helps. All right, y'all, thanks for sticking with me. I'm freezing out here, so we're gonna try to get this done and wrap it up. But I do wanna give you my closing thoughts. I do wanna tell you about a few negatives. One thing I've always tried to do with my reviews is be completely honest. If there's something that I see as a problem or I don't like, I want you to know. I don't want it to be a surprise to you when you get it. There are 3 things, and they're all pretty much minor, but I think that I want to call attention to them, and hopefully a couple of them might be something that we could get fixed down the road. The first, and this is small, but right here, I don't know if you can see it well, there is a little rubber piece here. It will not come off, and that covers up your USB port. And again, that's where your external power pack would go, or your USB cord if you were hooking this to your computer. What happens is that after this is opened and closed a few times and you close it back, I found that in the field I can bump this and it comes open. And that's not a big deal. It's hanging here, you're not going to lose it, but it would be a big deal if it was raining or wet outside, because you would not want to get water down in that USB port. So my suggestion would be, if you are going to be out in the rain, maybe just take a small little piece of tape, electrical tape or something, and tape that closed. Again, it's minor. It may not happen to you. I have just noticed using it in the field, a lot of times I'll look down there and I've bumped it and that thing is hanging open. Another small issue is that the focus adjustment, it's very smooth and nice. I think that's an improvement over the XT, but it's a very, very fine and sensitive focus. So what I found is I'll try to focus and I'll go, whoop, I went too far. Whoop, I went too far that way. And so it's really difficult to get that sharp focus that you're looking for videos. For just shooting a hog or a coyote, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I've never felt like, oh, it's way out of focus, you know, that's bothering me. But I have noticed it on some of the videos where I didn't have quite the focus that I would have liked for the video. And again, I think it's really minor. I'm being picky here. It's not that everything's blurry. It's just, again, it's a sensitive focus, and but it is what it is. The third and final complaint that I have, and this one's a little more serious, but there's a chance that hopefully one day it could be fixed. The battery life indicator that you see on the screen when you're looking at it is, as of right now, February 2018, it is inaccurate. And what I mean by that is, it's like having a gas gauge that doesn't work right. So what I found is after about 30 minutes of use, the battery life indicator shows there's only 25% of the battery left. And I've already told you previously, I got 2 hours and 10 minutes in my controlled test, but at 30 minutes, it's way down there showing me the batteries are almost dead. At 45 minutes to an hour, it essentially shows there's no battery life left at all. And that is not accurate, because again, I went for over an hour with it showing me there was no battery life left. This translates to a problem in the field, because if you don't know where your batteries are at, you're going to have the scope go dead on you at an inopportune time. And at the same time, you don't want to be throwing batteries out every 30 minutes when you still maybe have an hour left in them. So it's just that gauge is not calibrated correctly. I have a feeling that the more you use it, you're going to get an idea of where the battery life is on your particular unit. That is something that I hope, I'm crossing my fingers, might be able to be fixed in the future. The reason is, and I didn't mention this, but because you can connect this scope to your phone or tablet, you have the ability through that app to do firmware updates as Sightmark releases them. They can make improvements, they can make changes, they can fix problems. And I'm not saying this is something they're going to fix, or they can, but it's my hope that in the future, maybe that battery life indicator could be improved and updated in one of those updates. I'm crossing my fingers on that. Again, those are all minor, but they are real issues that I found using it in the field, and I wanted you to know about them. So, closing thoughts, I love the RT. I think it's the best Photon yet, as it should be. I am excited about it. I mean, they have done well on every one of these models, and this is just another improvement, and I think it's going to be extremely popular. If you have any more questions about the Photon, feel free to leave your comments below, send an email. We'll put the email address below. You can call us. We'll put the phone number there. We want to help you make the decision before you buy this scope or any other night vision or thermal imaging. Customer service is what we do, and helping customers before they make the purchase that's my goal. That's why I shoot these videos. It's why I try to make myself available to talk to customers, so that we can just help you answer the questions before you spend your hard-earned dollars and don't know exactly if you're purchasing the right thing. I want to help you make that decision one time and hopefully make the right decision. So again, overall, great scope. Sightmark, as always, best customer service in the industry. 3-year warranty on the image sensor, lifetime warranty on the hardware and workmanship. We have very, very, very few problems on these Sightmark optics, and so I would buy with confidence and know that if you ever do have a problem, that Sightmark will take care of you. They're Texans, and they're great folks to deal with, so if you ever have to call them, you call Mansfield, Texas, and you get to talk to a Texan, and you may think that's a positive or a negative, but I think it's a positive. They're good folks up there. So again, anything you need, night vision, thermal imaging, give us a call, check out our website. We really would appreciate your business. We'd love to do business with you, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Please check us out on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.